Okay, so our next topic is writing equations given points. Writing equations of lines given points. Okay, so given a point and a slope is a little different than if you're given 2 points, but when you are given a point and a slope, you are going to obviously use the point slope formula, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, so the point would be given to you, and that would be the x1, y1, and then your slope would also be given to you. Okay, let's practice writing a couple of these equations in point slope form, and that's fine. We don't need to change them to y equals mx plus b, but at that point I'll show you, you could change it so that you know how to graph if you don't know how to graph in point slope form. Okay, so for the first example, here's our x1, y1, and our slope is -4. So let's go to the formula. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. We're going to plug in -1 for x1 and 7 for y1. And whenever you have minuses in front, if it's negative especially, make sure you put it in parentheses. Okay, so I have y minus 7 equals, and then -4 is the slope. -4 times x minus -1. So in point slope form, we'd have this. Y minus 7 equals -4x plus 1. Oops, that isn't point slope form. It needs to have parentheses. There we go. Okay. All right, so number 2, and now we're going to take this one more step and write it in slope intercept, so you can see what I mean. Okay, so we have our x1, y1. Both of these are negative, so be careful with that, and then our slope of 2/3. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So that gives me y minus -5 equals 2/3 times x minus -6. Okay, and so you can skip this middle step if you know how to just change the sign. That's fine. Okay, so this is point slope form. This is point slope form right here. But if you were asked to write in slope intercept form, y would have to be alone, right? We need y equals mx plus b. So let's practice that with just this one, and then you could graph it from there. I mean, you can still graph a point and count the slope, but either way, let's just practice writing in that form. So we're gonna have to distribute the 2/3 on the right side. So I'd have y plus 5 equals 2/3 x, and then plus 2/3 of 6, or times 6, that would be 4. Okay, so you distribute the 2/3, and then subtract 5, y equals 2/3 x minus 1. Okay, and then that would be a slope, and this would be your y-intercept. Obviously, it should be the same slope because it gave it to you, but that way you could find a y-intercept. Okay, so write a linear equation. To write a linear equation given 2 points now, we're going to use the slope formula to find the slope, followed by the point slope formula. Okay, so you're going to have to find the slope of these. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and then you're going to plug it into point slope form. Okay, so the thing with this is yes, you are given 2 points to find the slope, but you're only plugging one of the points in here. So there's technically 2 correct answers to each of these, okay? But if we went and changed them to slope-intercept form, they would be the same, okay? So, number 3, we have to first find the slope. So we have x1, y1, x2, y2. Slope formula, right above it. I would start with y2, which is 7. Then minus y1 is 1, all over. x2 is negative 3, minus x1 is negative 6. Okay, so if the negatives come up twice, make sure you change that to positive. So this would be 7 minus 1 over negative 3 plus 6. That gives me 6 over 3. So the slope of that line is 2. Or the slope of those points are 2. Well, and the slope of their line, both. But if you're looking at point slope form, we now have our m. We didn't have that before. We were just given points. So we had to plug it into the slope formula. Now we have m, and then we can choose one of the 2 points to plug into point slope form. So I'm gonna just stick with x1, y1, but you're not wrong if you choose the other points, okay? So I'm gonna now do my point and my slope form, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, and so y minus y1 was 1. So now I'm at y minus 1 equals, and we solved for m, we got 2. Okay, and then x minus x1 would be x minus negative 6, which is plus 6. Okay? Okay, so I'm only going to do one more of these because they're kind of long, and I think you hopefully understand or can rewatch it at a later time and will understand. So let's just do 5 right below it. Okay, so our form for point slope needs a point and a slope. Okay, but we aren't given the slope. We gotta use our slope formula first. Okay, so y2 is negative 8 minus y1 is negative 5. All over x2 is 1. Oh, I wrote that wrong. This is a x2. Okay, x2 is 1 minus x1 is 10. Okay, so you're really just subtracting the y's, subtracting the x's. Don't make it too difficult. Subtract the y's, subtract the x's. Okay, so that gives me negative 3 over negative 9. So my slope is 1/3. Okay, that's the slope there. And then we're going to have to pick a set of points to plug into point slope. Okay, and again, I'm just going to stick with x1, y1. But you could totally plug in 1 and negative 8. And if we change it to slope-intercept form, like we did here, it would be the same exact line. So that's why it doesn't matter. You could plug in y2 and x2, and you'd still get the same line once you graphed it or once you changed the form. Okay, so now I have m and the y1, y2, or x1, y1, sorry, and we're gonna plug that into the point slope formula. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, so y1 is negative 5, so that'll change it. If I do minus minus, that would be plus 5. And then m is 1/3 times x, and then x1 is 10, so still minus 10. Okay, now that is your formula there. Okay, so linear equation applications. Okay, These are kind of obvious what form your word problem is going to be in for the next few sections, but you eventually are not going to be told what kind of form your equations are going to be in. So try to think of why number 7 is a slope-intercept form type of word problem, okay? So let's think about that. A cab ride costs $4 plus $1.75 per mile driven. Okay? Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So I need to have some kind of starting value, and then I need to have a rate of change. And that could be miles per hour, dollars per minute, blah, 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 blah. So anytime you're seeing some kind of starting value and then some kind of change, that's going to be a slope-intercept form. All right, and you can see that 4 is what the ride starts at, and then $1.75 is your rate of change. How do I know that's the rate of change? Because it says per mile. That's a rate. Dollar per mile. Okay, so we're gonna write this equation to represent the cab fare. Define your variables, okay? So C, let's let that be the cab fare. Cab fare is amount of money, if you didn't know. And then M will be, it says per mile, so that needs to be your M. Or that needs to be, well, the X when we do it in the formula, but that's your mile, okay? So C is going to represent a Y, and M is going to represent an X, because it's per M. Okay, so this would just be C equals 1.75 M plus 4, okay? So it starts at 4, that's like a B, and it's changing by $1.75, and the miles are your X. So that doesn't mean slope anymore, it's just that's what X would represent, and Y would be the total, okay? All right, so B is asking you to find a cab fare. If Clay's destination is 17 miles away and he has $30, will he make it? Okay, so he only has $30. Would that be a C, or would that, you know what, let's go ahead and just find how much it would cost to be 17 miles away, and then we'll see if he has enough money for that. I think that would be helpful. So 17 is obviously going to be a M. So we started with C equals 1.75 M plus 4. And miles, that's what M is 17. And 30 is going to be your cost, but let's see how much this would cost and see if he has enough money. Okay, so I would just put 1.75 times 17 in the calculator and then do a plus 4, and I'm getting 33.75. So that's $33.75 to go 17 miles. Okay, Clay only has $30. So will he make it? No. He only has $30. And that's too expensive. Or he will run out of money. Okay? Alright, I'm going to stop the video for the front page and then continue the back.